One of America's truly great contemporary statesmen, Elijah Cummings, just passed away. His good and old friend Joe Madison drops by our program to share some thoughts about Elijah Cummings and the current state of politics in America. Check it out, leave your comments, ding the bell, and subscribe to our channel. What a day. You know, some Mick Mulvaney coming out and saying, yeah, of course we did it. You know, get over it. It's just politics. And Mike Pence going to Turkey, where Erdogan won't even have an American flag in the room. You know, a slap in the face to America. This totally bizarre man in the White House. And then on top of all of this, we lose Elijah Cummings. He was born just 5 months before me. I mean, which is a little kind of close to the bone. And just an extraordinary man who was such a role model for, you know, of true statesmanship. On the line is our old buddy Joe Madison, the host of his own show, the Joe Madison Show on Sirius XM on the Urban View channel in the mornings. And Joe, welcome back to the program. It's always nice talking with you.
Well, yeah, you know, it's always good to talk about public policy and other issues. I'm just sad that we had to wake up this morning to the news that, you know, Elijah Cummings had passed away.
Yes.
But I do want to comment on this thing about the American flag not even being in the room with the vice president. And I think Elijah Cummings would agree with me, Tom. This shows the ultimate disrespect for the presidency, for the United States, and it's because they disrespect this man who is now president of the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a symbolic slap in the face. And the president of Turkey, I think, just has his number, like a lot of leaders around the country. But Elijah Cummings and I were fraternity brothers, Phi Beta Sigma. We both became honorary members of Phi Beta Sigma, along with, you remember Charles Ogletree, the outstanding professor of law from Harvard, and all of us were brought into that fraternity together. And he also listened, Tom, to the show every single morning.
I know he spoke really, you know, he spoke of you many times. You know, he obviously really loved you in the show. My sense was, I don't think that you and I have talked specifically about Elijah Cummings before, but my guess was that you guys knew each other, in more than just a casual way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we were fraternity brothers and went into it together. But you know, the district he represented, and I want people to understand something, and forgive the noise in the background, but. He came from a district that was represented by very strong men. Historically, you should understand the first representative, the first African American representative of his district was Perrin Mitchell, and he came from a political family, a civil rights family. He was the brother of Clarence Mitchell, who was known as the 101st Senator. He was a lobbyist for the NAACP and one of the founders of the Congressional Black Caucus. And then when he passed away or retired, Kwesi Mfume. And then after Kwesi Mfume gave up the seat to become the head of the NAACP, then it was Elijah Cummings. And all three were very strong, outspoken members of Congress and represented their district in a very unique way. But Elijah Cummings used to tell this story about how he always loved this story about how when he was in high school, I guess someone in his school, I don't know if it was a teacher, said he'd never amount to anything. He wasn't smart enough to be a lawyer.
Wow.
And he went on not only to graduate from college, Howard, but he graduated from law school. And you know who his first client was?
No.
The person who said he'd never be a lawyer.
Oh, really?
Was his first.
That
yes.
teacher? Wow.
It was that teacher was his first client.
That's incredible. That's a beautiful story. So, I mean, Elijah Cummings is also the chair of the House Oversight Committee, which is one of the 5 committees that are conducting impeachment hearings. What is this going to mean for the impeachment process? And I mean, just the idea that somebody could fill his shoes. He was such a. His voice had such authority. You know, he was such a huge figure.
Well, and that's absolutely right. And one of the reasons he was as effective as he was, unlike our president that we have now, he listened to his staff. I think that's what people ought to understand. He had a very powerful staff, a very effective group of staff people who listened to him. And, now they have someone, I guess, who will, a temporary staff member, a member of Congress, but it will probably have the same staff. So we can look at that as a hopefully a positive. The only thing I can say to you, and people say this all the time, who's going to fill his shoes? My response to that is you can't fill his shoes.
Right.
I mean, let's just be quite honest. What you have to do is create your own footprints. Yeah. And that's what I hope they will look for someone that Nancy Pelosi and the leadership will look to someone who will just follow through with the work that he has done at this time. But no one, and this is what we're really saying to each other, was as passionate, as intelligent, and let me tell you, man, and I won't use profanity on your show, but I think you'll understand this. He didn't take any stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
Anybody.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah, I get it.
You get it.
And that was so clear. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, unlike a lot of his colleagues, he never had a harsh word to say outside that committee to his political opponent. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're getting condolences from people across the aisle. He was, I think you said it, he was a statesman. Yeah. And that's what we're lacking. And that's why I think people feel this great loss from all sides. Yeah.
Yeah, a personal loss on your end as a friend and a institutional loss for all of us.
I should point out we knew that this was coming. Unfortunately, he had been sick.
Yeah, he had had heart surgery two years ago, I guess, and it didn't quite take.
Yeah, and his sister called me this morning because she was listening to the show. But, I tell people, you can't imagine how intimidating it is to be a talk personality and know that the chairman of one of the most powerful committees is listening to you every day, Tom, on his commute to Washington. And by the way, if you made a mistake, he'd pick up the phone and call.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, and I would, and he would tell the producer, or Sherry, my executive producer, he would tell her, Joe needs to correct that, or he needs to correct this, or he would get on the air and say, you know what, you're telling the people the truth, and I'm here to validate what you're saying, and that I will always appreciate about him.
Yeah. A good man, a light has left, has left our world.
Or as someone said about Paul Robeson, a mighty tree has fallen in our forest.